In 2014, a janitor in Vermont died and left behind $8 million. His name was Ronald Read. He drove a used car. He wore a safety pin to hold his coat together. He ate at the same diner every morning and left $2 tips. Nobody knew. Not his co-workers. Not most of his family. Not the town he lived in for 76 years. And here is what makes this story genuinely strange. Ronald Read never had a high-paying job. He never started a business. He never inherited money. He never won anything. He was a gas station attendant and then a janitor his entire working life. So how does a man like that die with $8 million while people earning 10 times his salary retire with almost nothing? That question has a very specific answer. And once you hear it, you won't be able to forget. Most of us were taught that wealth comes from earning more, get the promotion, land the raise, build the side hustle. And look, that advice isn't wrong, but it is incomplete. Because the research on people like Ronald Read tells a completely different story about what actually separates the people who build wealth from the people who don't. That's what this channel is about, and that's exactly what we are going to break down today. Here's something that should bother you. The United States has roughly 22 million millionaires. Most of them don't look like what you picture when you hear that word. They don't live in the neighborhoods you'd expect. They don't drive the cars you'd expect. They don't talk about money the way you'd expect. Thomas Stanley spent decades researching them. His book, The Millionaire Next Door, came out in 1996, and what he found was almost embarrassing in how simple it was. The majority of millionaires in America are first-generation wealthy, meaning nobody handed it to them. They built it themselves. And the way they built it had almost nothing to do with income. Stanley found that high income and high net worth are not the same thing. In fact, some of the lowest net worth individuals in his research were high earners, doctors, lawyers, senior executives, people earning $400,000 a year with almost nothing saved. He called them under-accumulators of wealth, UAWs, and he called the people like Ronald Read prodigious accumulators of wealth, PAWs. The difference between them had almost nothing to do with how much they earned. It had everything to do with what they did with it. So what exactly did people like Ronald Read actually do? Step 1, they spent less than they earned, every month, without exception. Not dramatically less, just consistently less. Ronald Read saved a portion of every paycheck he ever received going back to his 20s. Not a large portion, just a consistent one. Here is why that matters more than it sounds. Most people treat saving as what happens with whatever is left over after spending. Ronald Read and people like him did the opposite. They saved first and lived on what remained. The savings were not optional, they were automatic. Step 2. They invested in simple things they understood. Ronald Read did not trade options. He did not flip real estate. He did not chase the hot stock of the year. He bought shares in companies he recognized, companies that had been around for decades, companies that paid dividends. And then he did something that almost nobody does. He held them. For years, for decades, through crashes and recoveries and crashes again. When investigators went through his estate, they found stock certificates going back 40 years. 40 years of holding the same positions while everyone around him was reacting and adjusting and second-guessing and losing. You might be wondering how that actually adds up to $8 million on a janitor's salary. So let's look at the math, because this is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. If you invest $300 a month starting at age 25 and you earn an average annual return of 10%, which is roughly the historical average of the S&P 500, by age 65, you have $1.9 million. If you wait until 35 to start that same $300 a month, you end up with $678,000. Same amount invested every month. 10 fewer years, and you end up with $1.2 million less. Ronald Read started in his 20s and never stopped. That is the entire secret. That is the boring formula that almost nobody follows. Step 3. They ignored what everyone else was doing. This one is harder than it sounds. Stanley's research found that PAWs had an almost complete immunity to social comparison. They did not upgrade their house when their neighbors did. They did not buy the new car when their salary increased. They did not measure their success by what was visible to other people. Think about that for a second. We live in a world specifically designed to make you spend money to signal status to people who are not thinking about you. Ronald Read wore a safety pin on his coat. He was completely indifferent to what that looked like. And that indifference was not a personality flaw. It was a financial superpower. Step 4. They were patient in a way that felt almost unreasonable. Ronald Read's largest holding at the time of his death was Wells Fargo stock. He had been holding it for decades. Through the 2008 financial crisis, when Wells Fargo lost more than 70% of its value, he held. When the entire financial system looked like it was collapsing, he held. Most investors panic and sell at exactly the wrong moment. Stanley's research found that PAWs treat volatility not as a threat, but as noise. They have a timeline measured in decades, not quarters. And that timeline changes everything about how the math works. So if the formula is this simple, why isn't everyone doing it? There are 2 reasons, and they are both psychological. The first is that boring does not feel like progress. Our brains are wired to respond to feedback. We want to feel like something is happening. Watching a stock position sit unchanged for 10 years does not feel like building wealth, even when it is exactly that. Checking an account and seeing the same number for months does not feel like winning. So we make changes, we react, we optimize, and every time we do, we interrupt the compounding that was quietly working in our favor. The second reason is lifestyle creep. Every time your income increases, your spending increases to match it, sometimes faster. And the gap between what you earn and what you save never widens, because every raise gets absorbed by a slightly more expensive version of the life you were already living. Ronald Read's income never significantly increased, but neither did his lifestyle. So every small raise, every dividend, every return went straight back into the machine. Here is what makes the Ronald Read story worth sitting with. He was not special. He was not uniquely disciplined in some genetic sense. He did not have information that other people lacked. He did not have advantages. What he had was a simple system that he never abandoned, and he lived long enough for that system to do what it does when you leave it alone. The people who study wealth consistently find that the gap between those who build it and those who don't is not income. It is not intelligence. It is not luck in most cases. It is behavior. Repeated over time, without interruption. The boring but rich formula is not exciting. It will not make you feel like you are winning in the short term. Nobody is going to be impressed by your index fund at the dinner table. But in 40 years, when people are trying to figure out how you ended up with $8 million on a normal salary, you will already know the answer. Ronald Read did not set out to be remembered. He set out to be consistent. And consistency over time did something that talent and ambition and hustle rarely do. It made him quietly, completely, unremarkably rich. The method the rich don't advertise is not complicated. It is just boring. And boring is exactly what most people are not willing to be. Now, if this raised a question for you about why most people know this and still don't do it, that is actually a psychology question, not a finance question. And our previous video goes deep on exactly that. It breaks down the specific mental decisions that separate the people who build wealth from the people who earn well and end up with nothing. The link is right here. Go watch it. It connects directly to everything we just covered. And if you got something from this video, hit subscribe.